It was an emotional day in Fitzroy Crossing on Thursday as the remains of over 60 Aboriginal people were laid to rest, marking a significant step in what could be Australia's largest ever repatriation project. The remains of many European pioneers had been exhumed and relocated many years ago from the old Fitzroy Crossing cemetery, but the majority of Aboriginal remains, buried between 1960 and 1938, remained untouched until human bones and body bags were exposed and found following large flooding along the Fitzroy River where the old cemetery is located in early 2017. Some remains were exposed for a number of months until a large-scale community effort led by the Kimberley Aboriginal Law and Culture Centre began to repatriate the remains to higher ground. Neil Carter's the Cultural Heritage Officer with the Kimberley Aboriginal Law and Culture Centre. Here he is speaking at the reburial event.
Kids found skulls downriver. Some of those remains started getting washed away downriver. There were body bags hanging out from the bank. And the elders came to Calac and wanted something done to us about it, and anyway, we had meetings after meetings, and then the Department of Aboriginal Affairs came in to assist, and it was decided that all of those remains down there should be taken away and exhumed and relocated up here. It was a really big job. The Department of Aboriginal Affairs, at that time they were called, provided the funding, and then major works started. And we had a contractor come up, and his name's Darryl. He's in amongst you now, somewhere. And from the start, this was encouraged to be a whole community project involving elders, local rangers and everybody all working together.
Teams worked tirelessly for 3 months in 40-degree heat late last year to exhume 70 remains before the annual wet season when the river would rise again. The remains were kept in a sea container here in Fitzroy Crossing for over 6 months before finally being laid to rest. 16 have been identified using historical records, with some returning to their country to be buried with family. A DNA process will be used to try and identify the rest, but some remains have already been washed downstream. This is Bunuba traditional owner Mary Aiken.
But it saddened me that all of our Bunuba people, members, they were all taken washed away by the flood. Because they were buried on the other side of the pioneering cemetery. I mean, these people here. They were buried on that side of that fence. And some of you, if you want to go down and have a look now where that bank is, you'll be amazed, surprised. Because that bank was, in my time when I was a kid, it was about 3, 4, or 5 meters away from the actual bank than what it is now.
The project is an important event for reconciliation, recognition and truth-telling of the history and impacts of colonisation and colonialism that occurred in both the Kimberley and in broader Australia. This is Walmajeri Elder Joe Brown.
Like in early days, all people end up in Fitzroy police station, you know. All people got no English. And manager come, look, can I take any of you, pick it which one you want, you know. Charge and tell them. They're buying them strong men. Oh yes, I'll take this man. Everybody haven't come from every station to pick up people. Some of these old people didn't know if they're a countryman there or not, you know. They end up. But never know if few people even come from bush, they end up, oh yeah, he's my countryman here. Everywhere. Any days, they spit right down. Policemen been all day picking up people any from killing a fish, you know. Like a cutting up land, like goyo. Policemen, sheep. And people didn't know what the sheep, or Portuguese. They don't like to eat the meat, But that's the Kadiablang an important feed, and the Kadiablang Nakamak. Sometimes people can go right down to Bremer. This that story what I hear, my old people have been telling me.
Bunaba traditional owner, Mary Aiken again.
These people, they came from stations in the Fitzroy Valley. Say Allendale, Laurel Downs, Calanyada, Leopold, Millawindi, possibly Mount House, Mornington, Brooking Springs, Fossil Downs, Landis Downs, Louisa Downs, Christmas Creek, Cherubin, Milligiddy, Jubilee. These are the people that worked on those stations in the early days, who worked just for flour, sugar and tea.
A traditional smoking ceremony was conducted by local women at the gate to the new cemetery. Then community members in a line each placed a handful of dirt on one of the over 60 small coffins built by the Fitzroy Valley Men's Shed. Students from Urimalay School then spread locally picked wildflowers over the remains before they were covered and reburied by various local rangers with the red pindan dirt that defines the Kimberley region. The project will continue with attempting to identify the unidentified remains using the latest DNA technology, giving families the opportunity to construct a headstone or relocate their relatives back to their traditional country. But for now, there's a sense of relief and healing with many in the Fitzroy Valley community. This is Brenda Shaw.
Good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to say thank you to Bro and Sis and all those involved for bringing our old people, and my father was one of them. Sandy Shaw and my name Brenda Shaw, and I'm so at peace now that he said rest away to higher ground, and one day we'll move him back home. And I just want to say thank you for all your efforts. We've been asking for so long, and it finally happened. Thank you all.